If you want to start getting pro results from your mixes, you have to learn how to use your mixbus properly. Because using the right tools in the right way on your mixbus can completely transform the quality of your mixes. But the question is, what are the best plugins for mixbus processing? What are the most efficient? The ones that will really take your mixes from good to very good, or from great to amazing. Let's see that together. What's up YouTube, it's IDs. I hope you're doing great. Today in this video, I'm gonna give you a list of 5 plugins that I think really changed the game in the field of mixbus processing. I will make a quick overview of each plugin, and I will also tell you about how to use them and why there are plugins that you really need if you want to make your mixes sound more exciting and powerful. Before we start, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you're the first one to know every time I release new videos about music mixing. If you're ready, let's get started. Let's start with the FGX Virtual Mastering Console from Slate Digital. To be honest with you, I only discovered this plugin like a few months ago, and I wanted to try something new in my mixbus processing chain, so I came across this plugin and I fell in love with it in like 2 minutes.
Wow, that was fast!
Since then, I use it for all my projects. This plugin is separated in 2 models, the FG Comp and the FG Level. The FG Comp is an emulation of a VCA compressor that will allow you to glue and tighten your mix in a super transparent way. It has all the classic parameters of a VCA compressor, and I think it's very intuitive. By the way, if you want to learn more about VCA compressors and the way they work, you can check out this video where I talk about the 4 types of compressors that exist in the field of audio. Okay, so right below this module, we have the FG Level. The FG Level is a transient and loudness enhancer that allows you to boost the signal without overpowering the dynamics. The cool thing about this module is that you can process transients differently at the low and high end of the frequency range. As you can see, there is a low punch and a detail knob, and I find it really handy for more precise processing. Other than that, you can also find a dynamic perception knob that works super well and transparently when you don't overuse it. Generally, for pop and hip-hop music, I start with Stevens Mastering 2 preset and then tweak the parameters just a bit to get the sound that I really want. But it's still a very good starting point for pop and hip-hop music. Let's continue with a great classic in the world of audio, FabFilter Pro Q3. This plugin is probably one of the best full parametric EQ on the market today, if not the best. It is super versatile, super accurate, very complete in the features. It has dynamic and parallel processing. Actually, everything you could think of is there. And the reason why I put this plugin in this list is because I'm convinced that whatever the project you're working on, you need to have an accurate EQ that can fix the smallest flaws in your mix efficiently. And in this respect, it's hard to find better than Pro Q. If you use it on your mixbus, I really advise you to use it in a subtle and simplistic way, because if you start boosting and cutting frequencies too much, you will kill your sound for sure. In Pro Q, there are 2 features that I can recommend. The first one is the separate mono stereo processing. With Pro Q3, you can indeed process the stereo channel and the mono channel in different ways. This is really handy for many things. For example, to give your mixes more width or to tighten your bass in the center to avoid phase problems. And the second one is simply the dynamic processing. You know, some frequencies can sometimes be very disturbing, but only in certain parts of the song. In this case, you can make your band dynamic to counteract this kind of problem. There is no typical way to use Pro Q, which is logical since it will depend on the song. But keep in mind that, like many other plugins, the simpler you use it, the more effective it will be. Next one, the Black Box Analog Design HG2. This plugin is probably the craziest beast of this top 5 because honestly, it really makes the job of several plugins together. It will give your mixes more punch, more energy, more brightness, more warmth. In other words, in short, it brings your mix back to life. But what does make that plugin so special? Actually, the harmonic richness of this tool comes from these 2 parameters in the center of the interface. Both emulate the coloration of a vacuum tube, but the one on the left emulates a pentode, while the one on the right emulates a triode. The way the harmonics are generated by these two separate tubes are very different, and that's exactly why this plugin is so rich in terms of harmonics, brightness, and warmth. Another interesting parameter is this alt tube switch on the left. What it does is actually switch tubes and provide you with a more aggressive and brighter tone that works super well in most genres. Even if it looks very complicated to use, you have to use it in a simplistic way to get the most out of this plugin. In another video where I talk about this plugin more deeply, I'll show you that you can completely transform your mix by hardly moving the knobs. If you want to watch that video, you can click right here. Next plugin, Waves Vitamin. Vitamin is a very special plugin. You can see this plugin as an EQ, a multiband compressor, and a harmonic enhancer. In short, Waves describes it as a multiband sonic enhancer. This plugin is intuitive, easy to use, and will allow you to get a punchy sound quickly and efficiently and without going through 10 different plugins. But how exactly does it work? As you can see on the interface, there are 5 faders. Each fader is linked to a frequency range. The more you boost the fader, the more harmonics the plugin will create from the boosted frequency range. When you use the plugin in stereo, you also have the possibility to widen each frequency range separately, which is really cool because typically the bass range often needs to be tightened up, while the high end range is always nice when it is a bit wider. You can either use Vitamin in a subtle way or in a more aggressive way, but honestly, to get the most out of this plugin, I find it's always better to push the faders a bit harder, because by pushing them a little further, you can really enjoy the Vitamin tone. If you need more punch in your mix, you can also use this punch button on the top right, but don't overuse it. Alright, last plugin of this top 5, the UAD Pultec EQ P1A. This plugin is an emulation of the legendary EQ from Pultec and works super well for giving more life to your mixes. By the way, you can use any emulation you want. There is also one at Waves, Apogee, Softtube, I think. They all do an amazing job, but I find that the UAD emulation is the one that gives me the most musical feel. The coolest feature on the QP1A is the fact that you can boost and cut the same frequency range in the low end of the spectrum. With a little tweaking on the knobs, you can really get something very punchy that no other plugin can give you. As for the top end of the spectrum, with the QP1A, you can also give a lot of air and therefore a lot of openness to your mix. Now, you might wonder why this EQ is so special. Well, thanks to its tubes, it will add a unique tone to the processed source, even when everything is set to 0. You know, it's quite hard to explain it with words, because that's something I think you can only hear and feel, but trust me, you'll get something different with this EQ. Alright, now that you have an idea of how they work and why they are so special for mixbus processing, let's hear now what they can bring to your mix in terms of power and energy. By the way, at the end of the chain, you'll see that there is an L2 from Waves, which is, by the way, also a plugin that you can get for your mixbus. But just know that it's only there to give you a better listening experience. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is to unbypass each plugin one by one so that you can hear the processing of each plugin on the mix. And then at the end, I will bypass them all together and then unbypass them again so that you can hear the overall processing on the mix. Let's go. I think you can also hear how each plugin brings something special to the mix. HD2 adds warmth and power, but also a form of robustness. Pro Q3 adds more precision and definition. FGX adds punch and stability. The QP1A adds life, and Vitamin adds like that great finishing touch that just make you say, okay, this is perfect. Now you can see why these are my favorite plugins. If you want to know more about each of the plugins, I put all the links in the description. So that is it for this video. I hope you found it interesting. If you have any questions about these plugins, please post them in the comments. I'll be very happy to answer them as soon as I can. Also, if you enjoyed this video and that you want to watch more content like this one, make sure you hit the subscribe button. You can also like this video and share it if you think your friends could be interested.